Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I want to talk about my response to my Sunday challenge prompt so that on Sunday, when I respond to your guys' videos, I don't have to talk about myself. If you want to be included in that, make sure you get your videos before Saturday, maybe around 10 p.m. So for last week's prompt, I said that if I could change one thing overnight, just like that, I would change my social awkwardness when it comes to answering phones or going through drive-thrus or any time that I communicate with somebody when I can't see their facial movement or their body language. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about some practical ways that I am attempting to change that. But before I do that, I want to know, in your experience, if you struggle with a similar thing, if you don't like talking on the phone, you don't like going through drive-thrus. I feel like it's a generational thing, so I'd be interested in hearing if some of you around my age also don't like those things, or if it's just me. I would like to collect some data. I think that'd be pretty cool. For most of my life, I've not liked talking on the phone. I have vivid memories of growing up with my siblings. We would have a home phone, obviously back in the old days, and when it would ring, it had caller ID and it would tell you, is this a toll-free number or is this the person we actually want to answer for? And in our house, we basically had the rule, if it told you that it was a toll-free, you just don't answer. And if it's anybody else, you answer the phone, you ask who they're calling for, and you take it to mom or dad so that they can deal with whatever the issue is. Maybe at that point, I associated that phone calls weren't for me. And even when I got my own cell phone, I prefer texting. And if I had the option to communicate in a way that wasn't texting or messaging, it would be any format where it's more face-to-face. So it's like Skype, nowadays like Zoom, any video conferencing feature where you're looking at somebody else and you get that extra little bit of information so that you can respond to them. So yeah, long history of not liking that sort of interaction. And also growing up, I didn't have to go through the drive-thru for other people other than myself. I was often not the person who was driving, so I could just give my order and somebody else would take it. So I think the thing about driving that also complicates it for me is like in my head, I want to say my order in such a way to communicate relevant data as quickly as possible so that they can get what they need to know and I can move on. But constantly, every single time I'm in a drive-thru, my brain's like, well, this is actually the best way to say this. Or have you tried this way? What if they don't understand this way? So it's a communication that doesn't need to exist. I should just say what I'm interested in. But what complicates this for me is when I have the responsibility of remembering other people's orders, because then my brain goes into the mode of, well, I want to say my order correctly, but I also have to remember other people's order. And so one small thing that I've learned about myself to make that process easier is to just write down people's orders in the Note app on my phone. And so the thing that I do and that I'm going to continue to do is to challenge myself to go through drive-thrus and occasionally answer the phone. And now I'm less committed on answering the phone to develop this skill just because I feel like 95%, maybe even higher than that, if a person's calling me and I don't know the number, they have no business calling me, especially if they don't leave a voicemail or anything. If a person leaves a voicemail, it almost guarantees that I'm going to respond back to them either by text if I know them or by calling them back if it's important. So I possess the capability to talk to people. I've talked to strangers for hours on the phone before. It's just not something I enjoy. And I think that the root behind that is that for some reason, despite any conversation kind of being an unknown, I don't navigate the unknown that can come from a phone call or a drive-thru as well as I navigate the unknown in a conversation face-to-face or virtually face-to-face. One other way, and this is not my preference, but another way to deal with a specific phobia like this is exposure therapy. So instead of just gradually kind of doing what I'm doing, continue to expose myself to phone calls and drive-thrus at a much more rapid pace, having specific concrete goals and deadlines so that I'm more and more comfortable with it. And that's a thing that I can do, but it's not a thing that I have to do currently. But yeah, if you struggle with something similar, you can push yourself to try more and more extreme versions of the thing that you're afraid of. I think for me, another part that's helpful is trying to identify what aspect of these interactions I'm fearful of or that I don't enjoy. And I think it's generally true that while I'm an extrovert, I really enjoy interacting with people. I enjoy this content as well because I know that you're there watching and I get to make the content for you and for myself. I know that when I enter a new social situation, my extroversion is suppressed with a little bit of social awkwardness to the point where I don't want to be the first one to talk if I don't have to. I want to sense out the group and then very quickly I'll warm up. And that's true of every situation. I found that when the context is very similar, I don't get as nervous the subsequent times that I do it. So a good example of that is when I preached in the past for the same group. The first time that I preach, it's like butterflies in my stomach for like the first 2 or 3 minutes as I get talking, and then I'm comfortable with it and it goes away. And the next time I come and I preach or I talk in a class or whatever, that fear is still there, but it's significantly less. And the more times that I do it, it just goes away. The same thing is true of recording these videos. Like when I was first recording them early in January, I would be really in my head. Now I'm speaking a lot more clearly, concisely, without interruptions. And I think it's just because I'm used to it to some extent. So I don't know. I think that the application there, if I want to move past it, is to just do it more. Practice building those skills and understanding that it's connected to my social abilities generally, and that like any skill or weakness, it's something that I can build. And so maybe I'll report back to you in a year and see if I've worked significantly toward it. I was talking with Cray today, and I do think compared to earlier on in our marriage where I would just avoid drive-thrus altogether unless I really had to, I'm able to do it now with much more confidence, but it's still not something I enjoy. And I don't know if it's ever going to be something I enjoy. So that's it. That's my application. Probably a lot longer than the little videos you guys are going to record, but I absolutely look forward to hearing from you between now and Saturday at like 10 o'clock. If you haven't made a video before and you want to respond to some of these prompts, feel free to jump in at any point. It's really open to anybody who wants to record and has the ability to edit, or not even edit, but just put up whatever content you record onto YouTube. So I'm Matt. Thank you so much for watching. This week has been really good. I've enjoyed a lot of the videos that I made, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bye.
Push the button.
I'm pushing the button.
Push the button.
Pushing the button.
Push the button.
I'm pushing the button.
Push the button.
Push the button.